Someone gave me some great advice before, and they said three is a really valuable number in business and just in life. And so if you can whittle it down to three uniques, I think that's really helpful for a lot of brands. Not every brand has three uniques. And listen, if you have five or six, that's a beautiful thing. But really take time to think about, okay, what makes us different? Because people are going to take a look at your site and hopefully your video, if you have one, and they're going to say, all right, why them over somebody else? Because there's none of us. It doesn't matter what we do in the world. There are very few people that own an entire space without competition. Maybe nobody on the planet anymore. And so that's what people want to know. How are you different? And I think video is a great way to differentiate yourself. The reason why people go wrong with video a lot of times is, or where they go wrong is, they script themselves. And the truth is, the story already exists. It always exists. And so to the extent that you can get yourself off script and be able to tell that story authentically, people have a radar for when they're being sold to. People have a radar for scripts, for content that's not genuine. And so sometimes I come across companies and they think that, okay, we're at a certain level. Our revenue is 10 or 20 or $100 million. We need to script this. We need to get marketing involved. We need to get the lawyers involved. We need to make sure that every word here is perfect. And then what do they wind up with? They wind up with a corporate video that's stiff and it's not authentic, and it's more harmful than good. So if that's the kind of content you plan to create, just don't bother creating anything at all because you're only hurting your brand at that point.
Yeah, this is a very good point that you're making right now, and it was actually one of my next questions, because on your website you explain on that, right? This is your approach to creating videos, so no lifeless scripts and no choreographed handshakes and stuff like that. So can we talk about your process? So I assume you start with some kind of a discovery session, and then you figure out how to create that video for this particular client, but then you also make them feel comfortable and you try to capture those unscripted conversations and then present them in the best possible light. Is that correct?
Yeah, and it all started because I didn't do that to begin with. So I'm 44 now, so literally half a lifetime ago, I was 22 years old. I started making content for companies, and I would go in and I'd meet these really engaging people, and we'd have a conversation, and then we'd hit record and everything would change. And these people that were engaging and were conversational and knew their business inside and out, all of a sudden they're sweating and they're scared to death, and what they're spitting out is something that they would never want to share with the world. And so I said, okay, I need to figure out how to make this right, or I'm not going to have a business for very long. And the key was ditch the scripts. Because I want you to imagine for your own company, Ark, if say you went in and you met with a client and you were reciting something that you memorized the night before, or you were reading off a teleprompter, or you had cue cards behind their head. Do you think that would be pretty well received? Of course not. No, you would come across as phony and disingenuous.